Welcome to the SANS Science Experience podcast, where we explore the latest and most exciting papers and preprints in science. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. It truly helps support the SANS Science Experience and brings more great science to you. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into something profoundly important for healthy aging: the genetic foundations of frailty. Now, when we talk about frailty, we're not just talking about getting older chronologically. It's actually a distinct syndrome, a noticeable decrease in the body's physiological reserves across multiple systems. Think of it like your body's backup batteries sort of losing their charge. And this significantly predicts adverse outcomes like hospitalizations, even mortality,
Right.
and that's independent of your actual age.
That's right. And pinpointing the precise causes of frailty, it's been a complex puzzle for a while now. But we do know that genetics play a really substantial role. Twin studies, for example, have suggested that, up to 52% of an individual's susceptibility to frailty could be down to their genes.
Right, over half. And this new research we're looking at today, what an undertaking. Traditionally, frailty's been assessed using clinical tools, things like the frailty index or the frailty phenotype. These are incredibly detailed, sure, but they need direct clinical assessment. That makes really large-scale studies quite difficult. But this new deep dive, it leverages something called the Hospital Frailty Risk Score, or HFRS, which is derived from administrative ICD-10 codes. Could you just quickly explain what those are and why using them is such a game changer here?
Absolutely. So ICD-10 codes are essentially the standardized diagnostic codes that hospitals and clinics use, for billing, for record keeping. By using the HFRS, which is built from these codes, researchers could tap into massive real-world health data. We're talking administrative records from hundreds and hundreds of thousands of patients. It allows for an unprecedented scale of analysis. It's really a brilliant way to get around the limitations of those traditional clinical assessments for big population studies.
And when you say massive, you're definitely not kidding. This was an enormous genome-wide association study, a GWOS, right?
Right.
Involving over 500,000 participants from FinnGen initially.
Yes, and then replicated.
Replicated in over 400,000 individuals from the UK Biobank, and then they combined it all in a meta-analysis.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a truly staggering amount of genetic data to sift through.
It really is. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is their sophisticated approach. It went beyond just, finding genetic variants. They integrated proteomics data, looking at protein levels, and performed these things called colocalization analyses. Now, this is crucial because it didn't just show a correlation between a genetic variant and frailty. It allowed them to connect those genetic signals to actual protein levels in the body, which in turn can help pinpoint the causal genes and pathways involved. Much more specific, they even did a clever sensitivity analysis. Excluding dementia diagnoses, dementia has the highest weight in the HFRS score, so they wanted to make sure they were capturing distinct genetic signals related to frailty itself, not just cognitive decline.
Okay, that makes sense. So after all that really meticulous work, what did they actually discover? What were the headline findings?
The results are quite remarkable, actually. The study identified 53 independent-led genetic variants associated with frailty. But here's the kicker. An incredible 45 of these were completely novel.
45. Wow.
Yes, previously unreported in the major GWS catalog database. And this also led to the discovery of 6 entirely new genes linked to frailty. These give us fresh targets, things we never even knew existed for potential interventions.
That's truly groundbreaking stuff. Can you give us a bit more sense of what some of these novel findings might mean biologically? What kinds of genes are we talking about?
Yeah, definitely. These novel findings offer some really crucial biological insights. For example, they identified potential causal candidate genes like CHST9, which is involved in essential cell interactions, basic building blocks. Another one, C6HORF106, it's also known as ILRUN, seems to play a role in regulating inflammation and lipid metabolism. And those are 2 processes we increasingly recognize as key players in aging and chronic disease. They also found that plasma levels of proteins from genes like CGRE1 and MET were directly associated with the HFRS score, which really underscores their direct biological relevance. It's not just a genetic signal. It connects to measurable biology. Though the strongest signal, it has to be said, was observed in the APOE locus on chromosome 19. And that's a region we already know is deeply connected to cognitive function and cardiometabolic health.
Okay, so if we kind of connect all those dots, The big picture, the overarching biological insight, seems to be that these findings consistently point back to the critical role of our immunoinflammatory systems and nervous system functions. Those seem to be at the heart of the underlying causes of frailty. And it seems these pathways are fundamental, almost regardless of which specific definition of frailty you use.
That seems to be the case. And this deeper understanding isn't just, academic. It has very real-world practical implications. The researchers use these genetic insights to develop polygenic risk scores, or PRSs, specifically for HFRS. Think of a PRS as a single genetic score that summarizes the combined risk from maybe hundreds or thousands of tiny genetic variations right across your entire genome.
And these HFRS PRSs, they proved incredibly powerful predictors, didn't they?
They absolutely did. These PRSs could statistically significantly predict not only general frailty, but also early-onset frailty, which they defined here as having an HFRS score over 5 before the age of 65, so predicting it happening younger. And even more impressively, these scores could also predict all-cause mortality and hospitalizations. In fact, adding these polygenic risk scores significantly improved the predictive power of existing clinical models. Gives us a much clearer crystal ball, so to speak.
So this really opens up exciting new avenues for early risk stratification, potentially for you, the listener. I mean, imagine being able to identify individuals who are at a higher risk of developing frailty much, much earlier in life.
Yeah.
This knowledge could enable proactive, really personalized interventions. Things like, I don't know, specific exercise plans, maybe dietary adjustments, or even targeted therapies down the line, all designed to potentially mitigate the progression of frailty and promote healthier, more vibrant aging. It's almost like giving us a personalized roadmap to a longer, healthier life, tailored somewhat to our individual genetic makeup.
Exactly. It's really about moving from reacting to frailty once it's appeared to proactively preventing or at least delaying its onset.
This groundbreaking deep dive really demonstrates how these large-scale genetic and proteomic studies are truly transforming our understanding of complex conditions like frailty. It feels like it's moving us closer to a future where we can proactively support healthy aging based on individual genetic insights rather than just, waiting for symptoms to appear. If you found this deep dive valuable, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the Sand Science Experience channel. Thank you for joining us on the Sand Science Experience.